When they came out, we were so happy, as you are happy for every member of your community that comes out, that's getting freed from prison. And it gave us hope because we now know there's a channel, there's a communication channel that can be used between Israel and somewhere around the world and Hamas. And they can say, take those people and free them. So I think it was Hamas telling us, there is a channel, now let's negotiate. And also, she said, Yocheved said, that she was with a group of people from the kibbutz and they are alive and well. And one of them was my father. And that was the first time for us that we understand that he is alive.
On September 25th, my dad, my 20-year-old brother, and 4 of my uncles, who are all U.S. citizens, went to visit our family in Gaza. Despite my mother's pleadings otherwise, my dad promised my mom it was safe and that they would be back in a month. It was my dad's first trip back home in over 20 years and my brother's first trip out of the country as an adult. 2 weeks into their vacation, the attack started and they are no longer safe. Now, our conversations have shifted from daily vacation updates to proof of life updates. We hold our breath every day, waiting to hear from our family, to hear that they made it through Israel's airstrikes, to see another day. My family and I have been contacting anyone we can think of, congressmen, senators, the embassies in the U.S., Jerusalem, and Egypt. They've all told us they are not doing anything to rescue the Palestinian Americans in Gaza. Why do the Israeli Americans get rescued? Why are the Palestinian Americans being ignored? In this moment, I want to take the time to call for an immediate end to the violence aimed at Palestinians. We are begging for our world leaders to do something and end the violence and apartheid in Palestine.
We are no different than anybody else. We shouldn't have to be begging. We just want this nightmare to be over and bring our families home. Our father worked as a civil engineer for many years and at one point owned his own engineering company. He helped build many of the bridges and buildings you see around in Southern California. Our father has been a U.S. citizen for almost 40 years, and right now he is fighting to get back home. The situation is dire. They have no access to food, water, hospitals, or medication. Our father is 68 years old and has a heart condition. He has a pacemaker and a defibrillator implanted in his chest to resuscitate him if his heart stops. He is running out of medication that he relies on daily to keep his heart functioning properly. So not only is he worried about surviving the airstrikes, but he's also worried whether or not his medication will last. It is imperative that he gets back home, as there is nowhere for him to get any of this medication. Since the day the war started on October 7th, our father, my sister, and I, along with the rest of our family, have been reaching out to numerous representatives and government offices. With the exception of few out-of-state representatives, we have been told there's nothing they can do, and they cannot help us with this type of matter, along with being hung up on a few times. We have been in contact with the U.S. Embassy in both Jerusalem and Cairo. We have been calling on the U.S. State Department every single day for the past 19 days, multiple times a day.
In the midst of this carnage are 600 U.S. citizens stranded in Gaza as we speak. People who reside in Gaza or visiting their loved ones. Israeli airstrikes have dropped over 12,000 tons of bombs on Gaza, destroying entire neighborhoods, residential towers, hospitals, schools, mosques, churches, the livelihood of people. 40% of Gaza's homes have been destroyed so far. While our U.S. government continues to send Israel missiles and funds to continue its campaign, it has not done anything to help evacuate and ensure the safety of U.S. citizens stranded in Gaza and who desperately want to leave and come back home to their loved ones. American citizens of Muslim, Arab, and Palestinian background have always felt or made to be feeling that they're second-class citizens in their own country. And the Biden administration is surely confirming that, especially as we watch how quickly and swiftly our government has rushed to evacuate fellow U.S. citizens, but of Jewish and Israeli background, from Israel during that same period. Since we certainly know by now that our government doesn't care about the lives of Palestinians, we call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and a pressure from President Biden on the Israeli government to ensure the safety of U.S. citizens and the authorizations and facilitation of their departure and evacuation through the borders from Gaza to Egypt.
We want our Ophir and the all 200 to 224 people, Israelis, who are sitting in Gaza. We want them back as soon as possible.
My brother Elia Cohen is kidnapped from the party in the 7th of October, and we really miss him. And we have here a lot of people that also kidnapped, and we want them back. We just want them back.
In one house there, it was a small child. She hid in the closet, and she was quiet in the closet, and all the family they killed. And she was live because she is holding in the closet. She closed the door, and she sit in a couple hours, and this what saved his life.
שלא יגלו עשו את הנשק. צריך בצד שלי. סתם. פה יש לך פה גם.
Over here, in this place where we're standing, will go into the room. You'll see how clean it is now. You'll see the room before, and I'll show you. The room was, from the bottom, all the floor was full of blood. All the walls were full of blood. The ceiling, we are hours and hours and hours here scraping all the evidence and everything, whatever is left, to bring it to burial.
שזה זקן ניצול שואה, אני יכול להגיד לו שזה זקן ניצול שואה שהם רצחו אותו.
See how they lived? We're standing right across from a home where a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor lived. He went when the rockets started being fired into his safe room. He went to go hide from the rockets, and at the same time, in a surprise attack, Hamas militants broke through the border fence and broke through this area to massacre the people here. And you can see it in his house. They had eventually taken an RPG and fired it directly into the safe room, where this gentleman was hiding from the terrorists.
Covered her and wanted to turn her over.
Right now we're standing in Kibbutz Cholit, a small community right at the edge of Gaza and Egypt. Small place, lots of elderly people here, families. And on October 7th in the morning, Hamas fired a barrage of rockets, and at the same time came via land, air, and sea into these Israeli communities on the area. Here, right over there, you can see a fence that they broke through. Hamas militants came in with one intention, which was to murder and massacre the people in this community.
There have been convoys moving through. As you know, we've unlocked that piece. There haven't been, to our estimation, there hasn't been a sufficient amount of aid getting through, but we're working on mechanisms to speed up the screening of that aid so more of it can move through the gate and make it to the innocent civilians in Gaza who need it. And we continue to work to unlock the very difficult kind of practical problem of getting American citizens out.
Particularly with keeping hospitals operating. Are there third parties?
But the problem has been up until now, and it's the problem that we've been trying to unlock, is that at times on the Gaza side of the border, there has been no one there from Hamas to open the gates and process people and let them through. And at other times, there have been actually armed Hamas militants standing there, not even letting people approach the gate. And so we are continuing to work through with the United Nations, with the government of Egypt, the government of Israel, how to get this situation unlocked. We have been making progress. I can't get into the details of that progress because they're very sensitive negotiations, but it's something that we are focused on and hoping to get, hope to have American citizens and other foreign nationals able to move through in the coming days.
Accuse Russia of, and probably correctly, of committing war crimes.
We do think that it's important that fuel be able to make it into Gaza for humanitarian purposes. Obviously, the aid workers who are delivering humanitarian assistance through Rafah and then onward inside Gaza need to be able they need fuel to be able to advance those deliveries. Fuel is important for the provision of medical care. Fuel is important for desalinization. Israel has very real concerns about the diversion of fuel. Hamas continues to launch rockets, and so Israel has real concerns, and so we are trying to work through a mechanism to ensure that we can get fuel in a way that would not be diverted, so it could be used only for humanitarian purposes. It's one of the things that Ambassador Satterfield, who has a lot on his plate, is very much focused on. I don't have an update to give today, but it's something that we are trying very hard to effectuate.
Dropping leaflets on people.
I'm sorry.
Dropping leaflets on people telling them that we're going to bomb this site.
We don't trust Hamas. Now, we don't have any way to make an accurate assessment of our own about the number of civilians who have died in Gaza. There's not an independent body that's operating in Gaza that can provide an accurate number. But we do have skepticism about everything that Hamas says. But that said, obviously a number of civilians have died, which is why we're working to do everything we can to minimize civilian harm and get humanitarian assistance into the civilians in Gaza.
The Taiwan's presidential election, does the U.S. share with the many analysts' view that this is an attempt to...
Qatar has played a very useful role in this conflict in a number of cases, most importantly securing the release of the 2 American hostages that were released last Friday. Qatar continues to engage productively on this question with entities in the region. The Secretary has publicly thanked them for that role, and we hope it will continue.
States once again highlighted President Lawrence's willingness to lead an effort to ensure that the sanctions